Well, hello everybody, and welcome to our September online program for the alumni of the Sunshine Coast Health Center here in Powell River, British Columbia. And this month, I thought we'd talk about happiness. You probably don't know this, but happiness is a hot topic in psychology these days. And people are trying to figure out what is the key to happiness? And as usual, everybody's arguing with everyone else. But anyway, I just thought I'd summarize this month for you all, this hotshot research they're doing, and we'll see if we can come up with some clues to it. At any rate, they've even got this journal called the Journal of Happiness, which is kind of a weird name, but whatever. Anyway, there's a lot of PhDs writing for this thing, and they've come up with some very interesting answers. And it's not obviously not a new topic. We've been talking about what makes people happy for thousands of years, but this is the psychologist version of it. And most of the research so far is done on what they call hedonic happiness. Okay, now what this means. It just means, look at a human being in his or her life is going to do as many things as he or she can to find pleasure and avoid as many things as they can that are painful. Okay, so that's the basic principle involved in this thing that's called hedonic happiness. Okay, so for example, let's look at drugs. Not many people would see drugs as a particularly good method to achieve happiness because although if you do drugs and they feel good, the problem is it's all temporary. And it's inevitably going to backfire on you and cause you a lot of pain. So if the principle involved is to put as much pleasure in your life and avoid as much pain as possible, drugs are going to backfire on you. I mean, they may work for a little while, but in the end they're going to get you. So pretty much we can write off the whole concept of using drugs as a way to happiness just based on that concept, right? Is that in the end it's going to be more pain and not less pain. And whatever pleasure you derive from it when you first started out, probably you're going to lose it anyway, so you're pretty much doomed before you start. But this idea of believing that happiness is the good life, I mean, this is really quite ancient, and a lot of very brilliant thinkers have actually talked about this for the last 2,500 years. And we usually refer back to this guy by the name of Epicurus, who's basically more or less the guy we sort of pin the whole thing on. And he was this guy who said, we try to get as much pleasure out of life and avoid as much pain. And he was, one of his big things was, he was right into moderation, right? So, and it wasn't naivety here too, because he knew that to be alive meant you were going to go through pain. So he wasn't, he wasn't ignorant at all about that. He realized that a lot of life was painful, but still you make this concerted effort to avoid unnecessary pain and do things in your life that won't promote pain, like using drugs. Anyway, so that's most of the research is done on that now, and just for your own information, what we are now finding, and a lot of these are statistical analyses, by the way, is we are finding people who try to get as much pleasure in their life and avoid as much pain as is humanly possible. These people, in fact, tell us that they're happy. Okay, so that's pretty good research to have and pretty good stuff to understand. And so next week we'll look at another idea that that the Journal of Happiness has published. Another idea that's a little more complicated than simply that life is happiness means having pleasure in your life and avoiding pain. But anyway, as always, we have the written portion of the online program, which has been emailed to you. And if you're interested, fill it out. And in any case, we'll see you next week.